Hi guys. Right, I hope this is working because I'm sharing to my other groups as well. Okay. So let's see this one. Just checking so we're all set up and everything is okay for the wonderful night to come. Oh, well, there you go. See, something always goes wrong. Hope you can hear me. Let me know when you come on if you can hear me. Okay, yep, that's the first one. Excuse me just a second. I'll just have to close the window. It's getting a bit chilly here. I needed some fresh air. Let me know if you can hear me because I've just plugged in the microphone while I was already on, so just do that. So, here we go. Right. Hello, hello. Somebody's watching. That's very good. Very happy to see that. Right. I've got some candles on the side as well, so I have to see that the microphone doesn't go to the candles. But I love this kind of wonderful atmosphere. So looks all pretty cool. Okay. I'll just put this one on quickly. Okay. And as soon as I've managed to get that back, okay. Right. Okay, I'll just talk and assume you can hear me unless somebody tells me otherwise. So far, can't see any comments. So please comment under the original post, not where I've shared it in the groups. Yeah, so just blow it up and then it'll be right in there. Yeah. So I want to tell you something. I've had a really exciting evening already. First time ever, I was invited to a publishing party by my author friend AJ Anderson, and she's actually just brought out her second novel in a series. So I was so excited to be part of this, and yeah, I thought I got the times all mixed up and stuff. I thought I had longer than I actually had, but that wasn't a bad thing because everybody enjoyed it, luckily. But anyway, I thought I was going to do still another life because I thought I had, more time to kill kind of thing. And to entertain the masses in her wonderful readers group, which I absolutely love. You can see the links in my descriptive post, just in the text, the description text. So get the books, go into her readers group. It's absolutely lovely in there, and her books are really absolutely wonderful. So please do that. And I thought, because I'm feeling so romantic right now, I thought I was going to have a nice romantic evening with you guys. How's that? Shall we do that? Let's have a romantic evening together. And just pull up a bit closer. Okay. Right. You can see. Okay. Okay, got candles on my table in there with my beautiful crystals as well. A lot of them from Susanna, of course, my resident crystal expert in my group creations from the heart space. And right, and I thought I'd start by reading you something from one of my wonderful books, which is, there we go, Badass Heroes. Okay. How exciting. So let's see. And of course, I will need my my reading glasses. And I'll do a romance reading a bit later, so stay tuned. There's going to be a romance reading. Let me just put that in here as well. There will be a romance reading. I just wait, you know, I'm not just going to start right away now because there's nobody watching right now, is there? So let's do that. Okay. This is chapter 4 from Badass Heroes. Your slave eternally. Louis studied the top of her head. He was sure his little speech had turned her on. She stood more erect, jutted out her boobs and ass just that little extra bit. Yes, she definitely wanted him. Whether she would ever admit it or not, she wanted him to see her as a woman. Baby, shall we have a look around the souvenir shop for a bit? He asked her in the most husbandly manner he could muster. Great idea, she replied and looked up at him, smiling happily. If you're a good girl, I'll buy you something, he teased. He hoped he'd get all flustered and angry again. She was so cute when she got angry. Her eyes were on fire, her nostrils flared, and she looked so very alive and passionate. Kara chuckled for the benefit of the people standing in front of them waiting for the lift. Once inside, she decided it would be nice to have a little fun with him herself and work him into a sweat. After all, two could play this game. She pushed him against the back wall in the lift and pressed her body full length against his. So you're going to buy me something nice, darling? She cooed. She ran her index down his powerful chest and moved back a little to continue the trail down his ripped abs to his belt. Louis reacted exactly the way she had planned. He grew hard instantly. Sometimes a man's virility could be so very useful, she thought, then turned around and walked out of the lift or on the ground floor, leaving him standing with a prominent boner in his pants. He caught up with her, swatted her ass playfully, and hissed, "Bitch," into her ear. Kara jumped and giggled. Don't you dare do that again, she hissed through clenched teeth. Why not? Your panties getting soaked, Louis asked, making her want to strangle him because it was true, and making her want to strangle herself because it was true. You wish, she grumbled. They found a souvenir shop right beside reception. Kara made a show of picking up the corniest items, turning them around in her hand, oohing and eyeing over them and making him admire each one extensively. Would you like me to buy you any of these? Or all, so we can get the hell out of pretending this shit is nice, he whispered the last words, smiling at her like a doting husband humoring his beloved wife's antics in the most condescending manner. Macho, she hissed, but she was grinning in spite of herself. Louis bent down and kissed her cheek lovingly. You're the cutest, loveliest wife a man could ever have, baby, he said in the most adoring manner. However, he still managed to avoid making it sound corny and soppy. How he did this was beyond Kata, and she found herself being swept away in a moment, pretending it was all true, that he was a loving husband and meaning what he just said. Then her mind honed in on his last word, baby. Don't call me that, you macho. He took the word out of her mouth and grinned down at her with amusement. Kata wanted to punch him, but at the same time those dimples in his smiling cheeks made her want to kiss him, which made her even angrier still. He turned away and looked at another part of the shop with better quality wares. Maybe he was getting something for one of his lady friends, Kata mused. He probably had quite a few in every part or port of the world. She felt an unwelcome pang of jealousy at this and got even angrier. Another man with shifty eyes entered the shop a little later and moved close to her. In a flash, Louis was beside her and draped his arm protectively over her shoulder in the most possessive manner. The man left quickly. He'd lost the unspoken testosterone pump pissing contacts, Kara noted with glee. Her husband had only needed to shoot one warning look at him to make him run off, tail between his legs. Her husband? Kara gasped at her own thoughts. The heat had to be getting to her brain. Louis wasn't her husband. He was a damn macho and... I can take care of myself, she hissed, attacking each time she felt her equilibrium threatened. I thought we'd agreed that the protective stuff was my job, he reminded her in a low voice. He's a slimeball gigolo, not a threat, she replied. You felt uncomfortable, and rightly so, he pointed out the obvious. Anyway, thank you, but you can let go of me now, she whispered. I quite like holding my wife like that, he remarked, squeezing her a little tighter while his hand moved dangerously close to her ass again. Kara glowered at him. I don't like clingy guys, she hissed. You don't like guys, period, he stated, but let go of her. Don't make me out to be a man-hating monster just because I don't like slimeball gigolos and machos. I get it. She should have loved this victory, but as he turned away, she felt strangely bereft. Want anything? He asked over his shoulders, and she knew he was angry with her. No, thank you, she replied with what she hoped sounded like genuine appreciation in her voice, and watched him walk over to the cashier's desk. What he paid for she couldn't see because his large frame obscured the view. His wide shoulders, muscular arms, strong back, firm round ass, his long legs with those powerful thighs and calves. She realized she was drooling again and quickly turned away. She was disgusted at the direction her train of thought was taking. Louis joined her at the entrance of the shop shortly afterwards and laid a hand on the small of her back. Shall we? He asked and led her gently forward, steering her expertly through a crowd of swarming tourists in the entrance hall and towards the hallway that led to the restaurant. She knew she couldn't flinch, so she allowed him to keep his hand where it was, acutely aware of the fact that his palm was burning a searing imprint into her skin beneath her thin top. They chose a table on the patio overlooking the pool further down below them. He held the chair out for her and only took a seat when she'd been seated comfortably. Then he cocked a brow at her in that way he had done before, which he found incredibly sexy and challenging at the same time. Sorry, I just was... Okay, God, was there anything that wasn't sexy about him? What? She asked defensively. No calling me macho? He inquired. No, that was gentlemanly, she informed him haughtily, as if it was obvious, and he was a little simple-minded, for not knowing himself. He only smirked. Sexy dimples again, and looked down at the drinks menu. Would you prefer champagne or shall we order margaritas? He asked. We've got a surveillance tonight, she reminded him. We need to keep up appearances, he shrugged. We're on our honeymoon. It would be strange if we didn't have at least one drink. Margaritas then, she conceded. Right, and bear with me, but I'm really not sure if I can hear anything. So, which I won't be able to on my. Okay. Oh yeah, there's sound. Wonderful. I was scared there wasn't any sound. So I'm very happy that we do have sound. Kind of strange. Okay, can hear that. Yes? Okay. So it's all working in all the groups as well. I'm very happy about that. And but for some reason nobody seems to be watching, and I don't know, is anything special on today? You guys are having something like Veterans Day or something? I don't know. The 4th of July is already over, isn't it? So, yeah. No idea what's going on. Okay. Hi, Amanda. Hi, great to see you. I've just read from my book, Bad as Heroes. I will be doing a romance reading, but then, of course, I need more people to actually want to have a romance reading. I'll do that a bit later, but I will be reading from my books. So we've had Badass Heroes now. That was chapter 4. Not quite finished, but nearly. And right, just put that over here. So I know we've done that already. Oh, lovely. So, and this is my thickest book and one of my favorites as well. Maybe I should hold it like so you can see it, because I already know what it looks like, isn't it? Opposites attract. I'm late, but I'm here. Yay! Well, it always takes a while when you like go on unannounced and do a surprise thing, and then later the more people seem to get on for some reason. So maybe I'm still a bit early at night, 9:15. It's here in the evening in Germany. So things around 11, all the Americans kind of come on now. They're still working, isn't it? Saturdays is probably better. Okay, let me just see. Oops. Okay. I'm going to read from this a bit later. Actually, not because of anything, but because I really feel like having, it's lunchtime here. Oh, there you go. You can have some lunch entertainment then. I feel like having a little bit of poetry. Yay! And you should fasten your seatbelt. I don't know, put something in your panties to keep them dry because they're going to get wet otherwise. I'm so bad. So here we go. That poem is called Hands in Motion. One button and the next. My fingers undo until my blouse falls open. Fabric flutters lightly to the floor. My hands reach upwards to lift the golden tresses of my hair. Your fingers move nimbly, unfastening the tiny hooks so bold yet so gentle. They sweep the lace from my velvet shoulders. Two air-filled mounds fall softly to the ground. Another button at the small of my back pops open under your hand's expert caress. A small sound unzipping the sweep of your hand. A skirt glides gently into a pool at my feet. You kneel behind me, and in a trembling hiss, more lace on my body is tenderly brought to gravity. Your palms alone now flow in backward motion up my silken thighs. Okay. A juicy apple awaits your touch. Your fingers curl around it, pressure increasing, callous skin against my soft. My breath is shaky. When your hands travel further up, you rise behind me once again. I feel the graceful sweep of the root of your hands are taking across my back, around my front. One holds my soft belly, one cups a milky breast, one draws me in, one pulls the hardening rosy bud. My hands glide upwards to cover yours, caress the caresser, to feel your hard power against my tender flesh. You catch my fingers and entwine them with yours. As fingers stroke fingers and hands lie on hands, I lean into your power, free to drink in the joy of your proximity, the delight of our bodies connecting like glue stuck together. I turn around as you tickle my neck, the pads on your fingers following the trail of my contracted skin, where the shivers end and collect in a pool of fire. The pressure of my thumbs into your shoulders are lighter than the pressure of your hands deftly kneading my rosy cheeks. Neighboring areas darken with the quickening of my heartbeat. My hands forge a path down the gently curved hills and valleys of your front, down the baton which requires both hands to fully cloak it in a tight embrace. I tease, I tickle, with fickle fingers I play with delight this rarest of all instruments, this flute awaiting the breath of air of the master musician that I am. Through the bright windows I see the sun settle at its highest point. Your hands on my thighs rise up the front to my apex. The sun shines from a sea of blue, my passion burns in the pool of my desire. The waters part for your magical touch, inviting you in to plunge down to my soul as your name escapes my lips. My fingers clawing into your bull's neck, you slip your index to meet my tongue, softly, slickly wrapped at both ends now. You thrust, you circle, you play, you tease. Your digits dance in primal rhythm, lifting me to higher spheres of ecstasy untold. My pads pick up the vibration of rolling thunder from your chest. Where air circulates, I hear my name. Right, hope you like that. Oh girl, that is beautiful. Your accent is the icing on the cake. Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. Oh, lovely. Very happy you like my accent. Right. Okay, let's do opposites attract. which actually goes about a philosophy lecturer who goes to meet up with friends in Atlanta. She's from Virginia, and she goes to meet an old friend from school and his wife to stay with them for a week. And there she meets Kyle, and Kyle is a Marines officer, U.S. Marines. And she's a pacifist, very, very aggressive around him, though. And he's actually quite cool. So, and at the same time, of course, she's got a problem with the fact that she finds him really attractive, but at the same time is scared that he might kind of, go crazy with PTSD or something like that. So she has very strange ideas about what military people are like until she finally learns better. So this is chapter 9, hitting rock bottom without a parachute. My chapters all have names as well because I like that. It's better than just chapter whatever number, isn't it? I thought that was nicer. Sounds good. I love military romance. Yeah, me too. So this is what the inside looks like. See? So there's a nice little picture, border, chapter 9, and, the name of the chapter, and then we start with the text. Hitting rock bottom without a parachute. It shouldn't really come as a surprise that a warrior like him liked being trusted. He was a bodyguard at heart, always looking out for those weaker than him to be comfortable and looked after. The way he had defended her last night should have told her that already. When he caught up with her, she pretended to study the many clutches on display, but in reality she waited for him to pick one out. He studied the wares intently and then picked one from a lower shelf. This one is perfect, don't you think? He suggested. Jada took it from his hands without looking and strode to the cashier's desk. You know I call you every time I go shopping from now on, right? She teased. If I can leave base and I'm not hurled off to somewhere around the globe, I'd be happy to oblige, he grinned. Jada placed her items on the desk, then tiptoed and kissed his cheek. Thank you. It'll save at least 5 years of my life of buying things I'll regret later on. To her surprise, Kyle blushed, and he didn't look upset either. Only this morning he had complained about her leaving her hand on his arm for too long. Now he was blushing happily at her kiss. She couldn't figure him out at all. He was so full of contradictions, and that was supposed to be the ladies' department, right? He gave her a curious and somewhat confused look, but didn't say anything. Probably just as well, considering how they always put their foot in it with each other. There's a cafe next door. Fancy coffee, he offered. My treat. Yeah, sure, thank you. She smiled at him. He wanted to have coffee with her. Alone, too. Could it be? No, he was just being polite. He probably didn't want to go home so soon because the caterers were there preparing for the dinner party by now. That had to be the reason, she told herself. It was a good idea to stay out of the front line of activity, of course, but at the same time she felt strangely disappointed. Still, she was determined to make the most of it, so she followed him to the cafe and sat down in a booth he had chosen. He sat down beside her, not opposite. Their knees touched under the table, and she was acutely aware of his masculinity. What would you like? He asked, when a waitress approached their table. An ordinary latte, please. He ordered a cappuccino, and the waitress left them to get their hot beverages. Would you like a cake or muffin, perhaps, or a sandwich? He asked politely. He smelled fantastic. Jada tried not to make her sniffing him too obvious. Do I smell bad? Damn, you couldn't hide a thing from him. He was beginning to spook her with his observation training. No, not at all. I quite like it. I was wondering what it was called. It's just ordinary shower gel from the supermarket, nothing fancy, but I like it. It suits you, she offered, blushing. Thank you. He shifted in his seat. I can't wait to see you in the dress tonight with the heels and clutch and all pinned up. I like the way you do your makeup. It highlights your features very well without looking like a mask. It's still natural. She had planned on doing smoky eyes with red lipstick tonight, but at his comment, she decided to forgo that one and opt for a more natural look again. Strong makeup is for photo shoots and ugly women who have to hide their faces, he qualified. But if someone isn't so pretty, it's not their fault. Jada felt called to defend the many women in the world who didn't fit a man's ideal of beauty. You're right. I was thinking of plastic boobs. She has such a stupid look in her eyes. Jada giggled. He was right. She usually didn't speak badly of people, but their days from the night before had really been begging for it. I bet Fred would have looked better with makeup as well. Full body, I mean, she giggled. Like a muscle suit? Kyle asked and chuckled as well. Yeah, for sure. And then they burst out into loud peals of laughter. Everyone turned around to them and stared. Jada pulled on Kyle's arm so he would turn around to her fully. Everyone's staring. I need to hide behind you, she laughed. Damn, I thought I was going to get another kiss on the cheek. He laughed. But you know, I gladly always stand between you and trouble. If you ever leave the Marines, you'd be the perfect bodyguard, she grinned. Just for balance. She leaned forward and kissed his cheek. That was the same one. Now you have to give me two on the other to balance it out. She quickly obliged, but before she could look into his eyes to see how he reacted to her prowess, the waitress returned to their table with their drinks. Did you want a cake? Better not, that dress doesn't leave much room for stuffed tummies, she said. Nonsense, one piece of cake is not going to bloat you up like a hot air balloon. You didn't take what plastic boob said to you to heart, did you? Of course not, she assured him quickly, but then blushed. Oh, hell no, come on, we'll share one. How's that? Then we both grow tummies at the same rate and won't notice. Just like when you both eat garlic, you don't smell each other's breath. So you're telling your wife she'll be fat from half a slice of cake? The waitress bristled at Kyle angrily. He sighed in despair. No, but she won't believe me no matter how many times I tell her it's okay to eat cake for a special occasion. It's not like it's a main source of food intake. I personally think she looks gorgeous. I don't like skinny girls. They remind me of my little sister. Duh. Chocolate fudge? The waitress grinned at Jada, who still couldn't get over the fact that Kyle hadn't put the waitress straight on them not being married, and that the waitress had assumed they were in the first place, and that she herself hadn't put the waitress straight on her error yet. What on earth was going on here? Jada felt totally confused. Chocolate fudge sounds great. Make that a double portion with one spoon. Kyle grinned at the waitress and winked, which mollified the woman, and she trudged off happily. I can't believe you did that, Jada gasped. What, that I ordered a double portion or just one spoon? Kyle asked, perplexed. That you didn't tell her we're not married. Why didn't you? I didn't want to interrupt the conversation. I didn't think it was important. It was about you feeling fat when you're perfectly gorgeous. Her jaw dropped. Don't look so surprised. I'm sure you've got your hands full with fending off men who want you all the time. You must know that. He gave her a surprised look. You mean you haven't noticed half the male guests in the gallery drooling over you? Why do you think plastic boobs were so jealous of you? Because you left her standing alone and took off to talk to me? No, if I'd spoken to a less attractive woman, she wouldn't have made such a scene. She felt threatened. Kyle explained as if it was something a little child should already be aware of. Jada shook her head. She couldn't see this woman he described as the same who looked at her in the mirror several times a day. He shook his head in disbelief when he saw it still hadn't sunk in. Why do the most beautiful women always think they're nothing special? He wondered. You seriously have some self-esteem issues. You need to work on that. Jada went in 2 sentences from floating on cloud nine to hitting rock bottom without a parachute. The man really had a way of destroying everything each time she thought they were getting somewhere. I don't mean that in a bad way. You are a beautiful lady with lots of brains and a big heart. You should honor that in yourself. He tried to soften the blow. Too bad she lay shattered and bleeding on the rocks below the cloud already. And most of all, you shouldn't react so strongly to someone else's opinion of you, but know in your own heart what you're worth. Just leave it, okay? She said tersely. If he said anything else, she'd be reduced to tears or strangling him, both options she would like to avoid like the plague. Kyle sighed heavily, opened his mouth one more time, but then closed it again without uttering another word. The waitress returned to their table with the cake. She took one look at Jada and said softly, I'll get you your own spoon. Then she shot a menacing look at Kyle and stormed off to support her sister in need. Jada felt like crying again, this time because of the silent sisterhood loyalty of this strange woman. She devoured her cake, uncaring of how much she would regret it later on, but she needed comfort food right now, and out of spite, and because it tasted delicious and she needed to OD on sugar right now, she didn't leave any for Kyle at all. The drive back to the house passed in silence, and when they got in, Jada excused herself on the grounds that she needed time to get ready. On her way up the stairs, she contemplated to put on smoky eyes after all, but then decided it would only make him think she felt insecure and did her makeup as usual, only adding a little more around the eyes than she usually did. The effect was stunning. When she stood in front of the tall mirror in her room, she had to admit she looked stunning in the outfit Kyle had chosen with her makeup and hair done. She had piled her auburn curls loosely on top of her head and pinned it up with some strands falling out, softening the dramatic effect of the flamboyant red dress and high heels by adding some innocent romance to the mix. When she emerged from her room, Andy was the first person she met at the bottom of the stairs. He whistled through his teeth. You're looking for a rich husband tonight, he gasped. Don't be ridiculous, she huffed and breezed past him. Kathy, come here and look at this, Andy called to his wife. Kathy followed his voice and stopped dead in her tracks when she saw Jada. You planning on picking up a rich husband tonight? She asked Jada in consternation. Why do you assume I'm a gold digger just because I'm wearing a red dress? Jada shouted and stormed up the stairs again. Where are you going? Andy called after her. Getting changed, she yelled over her shoulder. Don't you dare, Andy and Kathy called after her as one. Now it was Jada who stopped out in her tracks and stared at them. You're way too defensive. That was a compliment. You cannot possibly think we'd seriously assume you're a gold digger. That's what you say to a woman who looks stunning, Kathy said gently, walking up the stairs and putting her hand on her friend's arm. Then she asked Jada in a whisper if she was on her period. Jada would have pushed her down the stairs at that if she had been anyone but Kathy. She loved and adored Kathy, so she only shook her head and heaved a sigh. I guess it was a misunderstanding, she murmured and gave Kathy a hug. Not to make up, but because she seriously needed one herself. Kathy seemed to feel it and held her for a long time. Come on, I'm sure the men will eat their hearts out when they see you, she finally said, and together they walked back down the stairs. That includes a certain marine captain, Annie whispered as she walked past him. He turned beside her, but then looked utterly astonished when Jane asked Annie in a small voice if he really thought so. Oh my God. So now it's working again. It's frozen there for a moment. It's still frozen. Kind of. Jumping around. Okay. That's beautiful accent. Okay, we've had that. We've got like military romances. Okay, give me a moment. I hope I'm not frozen your end. It's just my computer being silly, the screen. Because it does that sometimes. And if I already had a movie contract for my at least one of my books, I could actually afford a new really good laptop. I like it when I have next to yes, I think the chapters is pretty. Thank you so much. I'm happy that you like it. You loved it. Oh, thank you. Jen, hey Amanda, hi Jennifer. Nice that you've joined us as well. So that was Opposites Attract, chapter 9. There you go. By myself, Tirza Schaefer. Okay, the subtitle is He Was All She Never Wanted, but She Never Wanted Anyone More. So there. Okay. Isn't that so exciting? Right. The next one, I'm going to read from Band of Brothers, which is, love the cover. Thank you so much, Jen. There you go. They've all got this kind of style, you know, with different kind of pictures on it, you know, but I love artistic, like paintings and things. So it's not your usual shirtless guy with muscles and tattoos kind of cover. Yeah, Band of Brothers. So it's called A Poet Laureate is Lost for Words, which is about Raven, who is from Europe, and she is invited to a poetry convention in Las Vegas. And they actually do exist for real. Unfortunately, I've never been to one. I would have, you know, I would really love to go one day. And after the convention itself, where she wins first prize as well for poetry, she is going out with a group of friends she made there, other poets, for dinner, and then afterwards she meets these Marines, and they look so handsome, and in Europe there are no men like that. So she just asked them if she can take a photo with them, you know, because otherwise her girlfriends at home won't believe her that she met these gorgeous men, like a whole bunch of them, right? And so they're having really good fun because they've just come from deployment, chilling out in Vegas, and they're starting to do a little dance with her. One of them is actually doing a tango with her, making fun of that by taking a rose through his teeth like that. So they're being silly and having great fun, and so while she's doing that, she is already making up more poetry in her head. And while and then she's talking with them, and they're asking her about poetry, and then she says tango is actually one of the titles of one of her poems. So they are asking her to recite that, and she asked them to record it because obviously she's just making that up in the spur of the moment, and then she can write it down, type it up later to include in the next compilation of wonderful poetry. So that's where it goes. Mill is here, I'll be back. That's cool. I have no idea who or what MIL is, but okay. Probably something to do with work. Right. So the poem, the chapter is called Chapter 3, Poetry in Motion, Tango. Tossing, whirling, slamming back against your hardness and following your every lead. At the slightest move of a finger, the atmosphere between us is charged with electricity. As you control me so easily, I surrender. Yet I hold my head up proud, playing, pretending the push and pull between us rises to a crescendo of sensations. My core is flooded, and the aching need deep down in my belly intensifies when I pull away. Yet you rein me in. Once again, our bodies meld into oneness. Your power throbs, spreading through my soul. My longing grows with one gaze into your smoldering eyes. As we dance, you and me together, apart together again, our souls connect in a way that our bodies cannot yet fulfill. I quiver under your touch. When your fingers run a trail of fire down my friend, but stopping short before reaching the painful need inside me. I'm close, so very close to exploding. One touch is all it takes for me to become one with the stars. Alas, that longed for touch, it never comes, and so we dance our sweet pain and torture expressed in liquid motion. All too soon, the music fades and I am left bereft with nothing but the sweetest memory, the pulsing of the universe distilled to a drum at the apex of my slick thighs in unfulfilled need. Raven's voice trailed off, and she slowly opened her eyes. Fuck, that is sexy, man, and the way you spoke and your expression, shit. Chad moved on his seat, adjusting his position. When did you write that? Rico asked. How long did it take you? Z asked. The two men spoke nearly at the same time. I just made it up, Raven said with a smile, happy they liked it so much. The man's jaws dropped. You're kidding, right? Nochu asked. Raven told them she was serious and that their little photo shoot had inspired her. She laughed, trying to make light of it. And then Nocho's eyes flicked over to Drew, but quickly settled back on Raven. Well, I'm sure I can speak for all of us when I say we're all happy and proud to be part of such a highly artistic creation, he said. Raven blushed, knowing he knew but didn't expose her. You know, if all your poetry is that nice, you should think about publishing a book, Rico suggested. Raven told them that she had several poetry books published already. Some were single entries into compilation of works of various poets, and 3 were her own work entirely. So that's why you were at the convention. Did you recite anything yourself? Z asked. Raven affirmed. She told them she had been invited and had read 5 of her poems. The men wanted to know if any prizes had been awarded, and Raven told them there had been indeed. It is called Poet of the Year Award, she said. I'm sure you got it right, Z sighed. Raven blushed and nodded. She was a humble person by nature and didn't like to brag, but the men had deduced it for themselves. She could see how impressed they were. Wow! The man stared at her. Even Drew's eyes were on her now. She felt her cheeks burn and slunk back into the seat. That's nothing to be embarrassed about. You should be proud of yourself, Nacho told her, and the others agreed. I am. I'm just not used to so much attention. Mostly I sit at home at my laptop and write, and suddenly I'm in a ballroom full of people in evening gowns, and there are TV crews all over, and I stand on stage and I'm given this trophy and a check and a publishing contract and all that. She gestured helplessly, feeling exposed at the memory of it. The looks on the men's faces, whose eyes were trained on her now, made her feel even more insecure and vulnerable, although they were so supportive and impressed by her achievements. God, you're so cute, Z sighed and enveloped her in a bear hug. It felt good, comforting, and safe. It wasn't sexy. It was meant to reassure her, so she gratefully allowed herself to fall into it. Did they air it live? Rico asked. No, they said they'll show it tomorrow night at 8 p.m. local time. I think the show is called Baxter's Corner or something. Raven said, trying to remember the name of the show. She didn't know because it wasn't aired in Europe. Baxter's Couch, Drew corrected her quietly. Raven nodded. You've been interviewed by Douglas Baxter, Ted asked, stunned. Well, yes, do you know him? She asked in surprise. Raven had assumed that a man who interviewed a poet and covered a poetry convention wasn't really mainstream. Poetry was more of a niche market, she thought. Yes, we know him. He's right behind opera and popularity on national TV, not to explain. You had no idea? Raven could only shake her head. The man had been so kind and down to earth, not like she had imagined a TV superstar at all. He had been very friendly to her and made her feel relaxed and at ease, although they had talked in front of rolling cameras, something Raven was not used to at all. Girl, you're a superstar now, trust me, Rico said. Raven didn't really believe it. Oh, look, there he is, she said and waved at the man with a smile. Doug Baxter had just walked into the bar. He approached their table at once. Raven, dear, I was looking for you, he exclaimed while everyone else stopped whatever they were doing and stared. Oh, really, Doug? These are my friends, Rico, Chad, Nacho, Z, and Drew. They are Marines, she said, introducing her newfound friends formally. Everyone, this is Doug, the gentleman who interviewed me earlier. Marines? Doug asked. Are you on leave? Yes, sir. We're pen pals of Raven's, and when we texted her saying we had just arrived in Vegas today, she wanted to meet up, of course, Drew lied. Raven's mouth opened, but Nacho kicked her lightly under the table. Pen pals? Doug asked. I read a couple of her poems online and wrote her a message saying how much I liked them. When you're deployed, there's not much you can do in your spare time, and she was so kind to answer back, and my team here were interested as well when I told them about her. So Raven gave us a poetry reading via Skype and sent us letters, although she's not even American. She's got such a big heart, Drew elaborated his fictitious story. So we thought we'd surprise her, or our leave was coming up and she told us she'd be here, and here we are, finally all together in person. Yeah, she's like our little muscular sister, Z grinned, hugging her around the shoulders once again. You should see her in pigtails, so cute. Pigtails? Doug asked. Well, I'm not sitting at home in evening gowns, Raven said, blushing. Look, the reason I was searching for you is that something went wrong with the camera, and I wanted to ask you if you could redo the interview. I'll pay you extra for your time, of course, Doug said. What now? Raven asked with trepidation. Doug only grimaced. I'm afraid so. well, why don't you bring your friends? I'm sure my audience would love to hear what they've just been telling me. You know, I've got a lot of patriotic folk watching my show. You'll have to ask them, Raven stuttered. She wasn't sure whether the men would want this and whether they were actually allowed to do so. We'd need permission from our commander, Drew said. Do you think you could put me in touch with him right now? Doug asked, seizing the opportunity that he'd not been turned down. Drew shrugged and said he'd try. He made the call, told his superior what it was all about, and then passed the phone to Baxter. They were granted permission within 2 minutes. Of course he'd say yes. That's free military marketing, Chad snorted. So that was that. I love it. Adding your books to my TBR. Which one would you suggest I start with? Well, they're actually all standalones. So, you know, they're totally not related to each other in any way. So you can basically just pick whichever one you like. My favorite ones personally would be like the last 5 I've written, which is going backwards in chronological order here. Band of Brothers, Balcony Above the Sea. That's not a military one though, that's just contemporary, but it's very nice as well. The other ones are military. Then Badass Heroes, Opposites Attract, Born to be Wild. That's kind of the one I love. Born to be Wild is really funny as well as Opposites Attract, which I think are the ones that you have the most to laugh with, although Balcony Above the Sea is quite funny as well in places, because she, the female MC, is going to Bulgaria, and she's in this little fishing village, and there are these old men who always go to this cafe to sit and talk and, you know, and play chess and whatever they do, these old men there. And they're having so much fun with the internet as well. So that is quite, I was inspired. I was actually inspired to put them in by those 2 old guys in the Muppet Show. You know, although those guys, of course, you know, they've got hair on their teeth, don't they? Which is absolutely hilarious. I love that. But these 2 old guys, they're funny as well, but in a kind of nice way. And they don't speak English, so you don't know what the hell they're saying. They're just having fun and enjoying life, you know. And not being able to understand each other, of course, you know, is a funny situation in itself. Such great titles. Thank you so much. That's nice. Yeah, so Born to be Wild is one that has, it starts very quickly with the hot scenes. So if you like that will be something for you as well. And it's also like a military biker story, you know, slash both, you know. Plus, there's a really funny character in there, Bear. He's a bit simple-minded, but, you know, very proud. And, you know, so there arise a few funny scenes as well. I'm going to have a quick break, and I'll come back on live again in a few minutes, but I'll just, you know, have a bathroom break. And I'll make myself a coffee as well. So I should say, like, I'll be back in like maybe 15, 20 minutes, something like that. Okay. So I'll talk to you later. And when, if I'm lucky, then more people will be on, so I can actually do a romance reading. If not, I'll do that some other day. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not running away, is it? I'm just feeling so romantic tonight. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Amanda, as well, and I'll see you guys later in a few minutes when I've got my coffee, because it's a bit late, and you know, just get a little bit more extra energy here. Right, talk to you later. Bye. Bye for now.